Flintoff comes into bat, and it was a flattish track, not much happening. Suddenly, Saurav comes and stands at silly point, and the moment Nasser saw me and
Started laughing.
no, he was so aggressive.
Insulted.
He was like, oh, he felt insulted. He's like, where is your captain? Why couldn't he come? Recently, they've actually sacked both their analysts, so there is no analyst. And if you've
There must have been the two Indian guys in the team. Investigate that.
It's in the air. It's a 6.
Yes, hello there. Welcome to a century of stories cricket, brought to you by IDFC FIRST Bank, now recognized by Forbes among the world's best banks of 2025. And today's topic, first and foremost, I have Deep Dasgupta here, former India wicketkeeper batsman, a personal friend of mine. We've worked together in children's shows, which have never been aired for some reason. But we're here to talk about a subject which is close to his heart as well, India versus England, the evolution of the rivalry, and the kinds of different combinations and permutations that, were expressed along the route, which you saw firsthand, first as a player, and then obviously first as a fan before that, then as a player, and then obviously as a commentator and a person who's looking perhaps with a more neutral, lens from outside.
Yeah.
Having said that, let's set it up a little bit. So 1993, I think Gooch's side came down.
Yes.
Deep was a very young man, not even a man, he was a teenager. But they couldn't play spin, let's face it.
Yes.
And Vinod Kambli went on a rampage, if I remember correctly, and we thought that would be the next big thing, another story.
Yeah.
Then we go there, 96, we don't win, but we make some brownie points, and it's the birth of two of the greatest batsmen of all time.
Yeah.
Saurav and Rahul Dravid, not to mention Sachin and a few others to come in the next few years as well. Let's go fast forward after that to 2001, which was the backdrop is we had 9/11. I only bring that in because I don't know if you remember all this, Deep. I mean, you were there, so. But I think a couple of them, Gough refused to travel.
Yeah.
And they gave this, there's no connection with India and 9/11 or whatever, but I don't want to use the word racism, but there was a lot of misinformation.
True.
Right?
True. That's so true. And and them coming over, and I think Nasser had taken over a few years ago, and he
brought the ugly Australian to the English.
Yes, he had that side of him in his captaincy.
It's very aggro.
He is, and in general, he's a
Lovely
proper.
guy.
I mean, he's a lovely guy. He's an introvert. He doesn't.
No, his podcast and all, he's fabulous. His
Yeah,
comedy
yeah.
fabulous. You worked with him.
Insights
Lovely.
and stuff like that. I mean, the way he reads the game and all, very good. But then there's something about it. I mean, he generally what used to happen back then and even now. I mean, all that happens on the field, but off the field as well, you could feel that in the environment while the series was on. The coldness of the field as well.
Once again, just take us back. Mohali, you were there.
Yes.
That's your big test match, your big moment as well. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So you're saying they were not friendly?
Yeah, but kind of cold. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, generally in Australia, what used to happen, I mean, they're tough, extremely tough. But after the game and stuff like that, you went to a pub or whatever, and you have maybe a drink or whatever beverage, whatever you want to have.
Chai, coffee,
chai,
whatever,
coffee, whatever.
Like,
So it was fine, and he would talk about cricket and all. But I felt just before that, went to South Africa, and the environment was there. I mean,
friendly,
very friendly, friendly environment. After the game, after the day's game was over, you would chat and stuff like that. But then, this was kind of okay. What's happening here? Was kind of cold, and that was a bit surprising. Yeah.
So there was already undercurrents of.
There was undercurrents, and I think that also. I mean, kind of this was kind of a new Indian team, so to say. With sort of we were always very aggressive.
Okay,
I'm
now
not saying
it's falling
again.
into place. So Saurav brought in our aggression, and they were playing against that.
Yes,
so they were surprised that we were behaving in this fashion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So before that, Indian teams were aggressive individually as well as a team, but we weren't expressive of that aggression.
This Western aggression in your face.
Yeah, so in your face kind of a thing, and unapologetic about.
What was Deep Dasgupta like?
I was kind of like a little old school.
In Ranji, you were a gentleman.
Even otherwise also. I mean, I've had my moments, to be fair. I've had a few incidents. I mean, the worst I did was there was one of the club games. Okay,
Yeah.
you know how East Bengal Mohun Bagan is
Right.
in football, but in cricket as well, there is that rivalry. So one of the games, I went into the stands with a bat. That happened.
Well, one second. Complete the story. I don't want the sponsor to pull out, but you misbehaved with the bat.
Yeah, I went in with a bat because
And you're calling Nasser Hussain names. Oh, I can't take this forward.
no, I mean, yeah, things like that. Then I still went in a Ranji Trophy game, even in international as well. I would like to believe, not very expressive and well behaved and all of that. But yeah, again, same thing in game. I still remember in Surat, it was Bengal, Gujarat, and we were in a tricky situation. And you don't have public, as in, spectators. So
Unless Virat is playing in
Yeah,
Delhi.
exactly. So there was this two guys. I can still remember. They parked their cycle, and I can see them, right? And post tea. So there's like an hour and a half those days, hour and a half and all. Kept abusing for hour and a half. And we were in a tricky situation. I was like, no, just focus on the game. Put your head down. So the dressing room was the other end, and these guys were the other end. So umpire said, day is done and all of that. Took off the bails. Rather than going back to the pavilion, I went towards them.
With your pads?
Yeah, everything. I mean, with pads and bat and everything, I went towards them, and then all my teammates came running to stop me and all of that. So, yeah, I've had my moments. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But okay, let's say the wicketkeeper is the leader of the pack in that sense of sledging and something that gets out of hand. But coming back to 2001, it started with the Mohali test, whether they were friendly or not.
Yeah.
And you had a beautiful test match.
I got 100. And yeah, it was a wonderful test match because I got a feeling of what it is to be a test player and a test 100. I mean, first of all, I had to pinch myself.
Did they clap for the 100 in the old
that
days?
I'm a test player.
The opposition would clap for the 100. Did they clap?
I think they did.
Yeah.
Most of the other guys fell off to sleep. So, anyways, watching me.
That's old-fashioned test cricket.
Yeah,
for
that's
God's sake.
old-fashioned.
You set up the
test
match,
cricket.
won the game, right?
Yeah. So that's that. But yeah, I mean, they were fine that way.
But there were some important moments there, if memory serves. One is, I think Michael Vaughan's handled the ball. which if you want to tell us, you're right in the middle of that one. So just take us through that one, because okay, now I don't want to England side, but I'm not a big fan of that dismissal. Anyway, go ahead.
Fair enough. Okay, Michael Vaughan, it was in Bangalore. It was Sarandeep Singh or Nanu was bowling. And so he swept the ball and was batting really well. He actually batted very well right through that series and during that period actually. Swept him, I went down leg side, hit his gloves or bat or something, and it was rolling back. The ball was rolling back. Could have hit the stumps, I don't know, but it was definitely rolling back. So I was going to pick it up and I said, no, let's see where this ball ends up. And before anything else, he picked up the ball and I appealed. Instinctively, I appealed because it was rolling back here. That's not done. So I appealed and I looked up at Nanu. He also kind of went up like that. Then Saurav was, I think, mid-on or mid-off, somewhere there. So I looked at him and the umpires, I can't remember who the umpire was. The umpire asked Saurav, are you kind of serious about it? And you is this a serious appeal and all? And he said yes. And then, they gave out. And
no one in the Indian team said whatever. Because you're allowed to kick the ball away, for example, right?
Yes.
You're just not allowed to use your hand, which I don't understand the logic behind that. He can protect himself,
Which is right. And this was like, listen, I think he also didn't realize, I mean, he saw the ball instinctively. He saw the ball rolling back, and because he was in that position to sweep, he couldn't get up and kick it or something.
That's
right?
exactly why the hand should be allowed.
His back knee was on the floor, and his front foot was there.
As a lawyer for Michael Vaughan, I'm saying there's no other option.
There's no other option. Yeah. So either he had to use his hands or his bat or something
or request
like that.
Deep Dasgupta, Sir J.
Can you pick it up before it hits the stumps or something like that? The worst thing was straight after that, I went to England to play cricket.
Right.
So my first day, Saturday morning, I went into the dressing room. The first thing I see was a picture of that dismissal and the article.
Lancashire? Yorkshire?
I was playing club cricket.
But why was that picture there?
Because that's how they welcome me. The picture of me appealing and Wani.
So what did he say at that point to you? Because it's basically between you and him, not even Sharandeep in that sense.
Yeah, and they're like cheats or something like that. And
No,
I
but
didn't care.
on the
man.
spot,
I mean,
he
I
didn't
couldn't
try to
believe.
talk to Saurav and say what's going on.
No. I don't think Wani kind of believed that we appealed and he was given out, because that phase, I tell you what, he was batting so well.
That's
I mean,
why
not
he
just
made all
that
those runs in
series.
Australia also, in the same
I mean, those
season,
2-3 years. He was the best player at that point in time in Test cricket, man. Yeah, and he couldn't believe. Nobody could believe actually that this happened. But we realized it. I mean, I kind of realized it post that when I went to play club cricket and all of that in England. And geez, man, I mean, everywhere you went, you were like, oh, no, that wasn't right. I said, what do you mean
Are you
it wasn't
serious?
right? Yeah, and I'm talking about what 2001, 2002 here.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's not right and all of that.
It'd be funny if you land in Heathrow and the guy who's checking at immigration, Dasgupta, Michael Vaughan, 2001.
Yeah. I'm not going to stamp your passport and
Yeah.
go back home.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of weird. Yeah.
And then if we just take it forward with this, Sachin gets stumped for the first time in that series.
That series, yeah.
And is it
that
true? Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, that would. Ashley Giles, that was a bit of a surprise because from, I think, the very first over itself, Ashley Giles started coming over the wicket, bowling that leg side line.
Yeah, almost like
Yeah, so you.
body line spin.
Yeah, I mean,
Outside
you
leg.
take a lot of the, cricketing shots out. So, and we were kind of surprised because generally, obviously, pitching outside leg,
Right.
you take away leg before and stuff like that.
Correct.
You don't
And
have
he didn't
to
really
play a
turn the
shot.
ball in either.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
much of a
unless
turner.
there was
Oh.
rough and all, you're
Yeah.
bowling in the second
Sorry, Ashley,
innings or
nothing
something.
against you, but yeah.
No, I mean, he did it beautifully.
Yeah.
But it was kind
So
of
negative bowling was...
kind of negative, yeah, because you're taking out a few options of getting the batter out. What you're basically trying to do is frustrate the batter and say, I think the whole idea was, frustrate someone like, because Sachin used to like playing shots and, getting runs, and most of the other batters were. And the idea was to frustrate them and force them to play shots and stuff like that. So the idea was kind of
Negative
negative,
cricket.
yeah. And the thing was, they'll frustrate us into playing shots, and it's difficult because if there is a rough outside leg, it's difficult to sweep as well.
When you talk about spirit of cricket and all that, sorry to interrupt you here, but that would be considered not spirit of cricket, right? Because you're trying to kill the game in a sense.
according to those people. According to those people, because I don't really believe in that. I mean, it's a very convenient
But
thing
we
to say
never
spirit.
did that. We never
no,
pulled this
no,
line.
no.
And not consistently for a long time. You might do it for an
Yeah,
over or
I
two.
mean, that's what he did right throughout the series, Ashley Giles, and he did it well, to be fair.
So there is a paddle, I don't want to, but
Yeah.
with Jardine bowling leg theory, with
Yeah,
an umbrella
I mean-
feel on the leg side and into the ribs kind of thingy.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing, right? Because only 1/4 of the field is now occupied literally. and-
Exactly, and then you kind of, like I said, it just slows down the game. It's kind of frustrating. And I think that's the reason Sachin got out, because after a while he's like,
But is it true Sehwag told him to go down the wicket and just attack them?
Yeah, quite possible. Viru could do anything and say anything to anyone.
I would have loved to hear that conversation in the dressing room post the wicket.
Viru, I mean, he's different. Yeah, Viru is different. He's made of different stuff.
Right.
But yeah, and so so that whole series was so kind of, the idea was not being very, I mean, from their point of view, being patient, frustrate us, not give us runs, make us, I mean, which is fine if that's how they wanted to play the
But
game.
they had
But then,
given up on conventional cricket.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
felt
and-
this batting lineup is just too good. In these conditions, we will not get them out.
Yeah. And my point is, again, going back to what you mentioned about spirit of the game. I mean, let's not then talk about it. I mean, it's fine if that's how you want to play the game. That's fine, but let's not then take a high moral ground and say, spirit of the game. and
But I
stuff.
think they got bullied a little bit in their own press as well.
Yeah.
For negative tactics and slowing
Yeah.
down. The test cricket was dying. It's been dying for the last 50 years. Got a lot of people. And then you do this kind of thing. So you kill the spectator interest. It becomes boring.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it does, but again, like I said, if that's how you want to play the game, that's fine. But then don't come out preaching about spirit
About
of the game.
Wankhede and
yeah,
other
and all of
options.
other stuff and all that. So that's that. But but always and then what happened? I mean, things obviously changed post IPL, right? Because once the players started playing in India in the IPL, things changed.
I won't use
a
any
lot.
words, but this could help.
This always helps.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, listen, you start playing in the same team, you the friendships and stuff like that. So post IPL, a lot of things change. But also, if we're talking about England here, for the longest time, they didn't allow their players to come and play in the IPL.
Right.
They coincided with the first half
Or
of
they
their
called them back
season
and all that, yeah.
and stuff like that. I think it only started, 2015 or something like that. And that too because Owen said, we need our players to go out and play, and because there was
Will
this
benefit
big
England, forget the money.
Yes,
Yeah.
forget all that bit and money and individual and all, because it will help white ball cricket. There was a massive push into white ball cricket during that period.
And then
post that
4 years
2015
later, they
World
win
Cup.
the World Cup.
Yes, and that helped them as well. I mean, so I guess till that period, even after IPL and all of that, till 2014, 15, even now, I mean, when you talk to, so-called the purists back there, I mean, they're not a big fan of, obviously, T20 cricket, but not a big fan of IPL anyway. So, they, according to them, a few of them, IPL is the root cause of all the problems we have in the
But
world.
they have the 100.
Yeah, I mean, the same people are not big fans of 100 either. So
But
yeah,
we also
for
have
them,
a share of those people in India. I'm one of
Yeah.
them. We're the last of the red ball lovers in that sense. I'm looking forward to taping this a little before the series starts. But just love talking about England, India, Test cricket. It's just like on another level
Oh, yeah.
for some people in some generations. Maybe we're just old.
Yeah.
And then if we just take it forward with this little ranker that seems to be happening, there was the Andrew Flintoff. Let's set that up. The one-day series after that was supposed to be 5 matches. We forced a 6-1 on them, saying we won't play an extra test match in England in our next tour. So they had to play 6. They didn't want to play 6. So I think that also didn't go down well.
Yeah.
And we were up 3-1, and then they win the last 2 and come back. And that's when Flintoff does the fabulous Flintoff Waka Waka across the turf. And which, again, was a little in your face.
So this, I think, goes back a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
This love affair between Saurav and Flintoff was from
Lancashire.
their Lancashire days. Saurav being Saurav.
Yeah.
So I think back then they had a very different image of an
Freddie
Indian
wanted him to join them for a drink, and they didn't know Saurav owned the bar.
maybe the whole place.
Exactly.
That whole block. So I mean, so that
There was a personal edge to it.
Yes, and then I still remember in that Mohali game,
Yeah.
Flintoff comes into bat, and it was a flattish track, not much happening. Suddenly, Saurav comes and stands at silly point.
Yeah.
And not a normal silly point. So
Flintoff.
normal silly point, if you're the batter,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
silly point is where you are, roughly there.
Yeah.
He came right in front of his eyes. It's like short mid-off, short covers. And in Bengali, I asked like,
Is that a
Dadi,
smart
do
thing
you
to do?
need
Yeah.
it? He said, nah. And without a helmet, Without a helmet, he came and stand there. And in Bengali, he's like, Nana, thik ache, dada na. As in, don't worry, I'm fine.
Flintoff was the biggest hitter.
Yeah, and he came and just stood there without a helmet.
Just to psych him out.
Yeah, and he was like right in his eye line,
Yeah.
right there in front of him.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize right then what happened. And then when the over got over, I was like, what happened, Dadi? What's going on here? I mean, there's more than cricket happening here. And then he told me, I've got issues to kind of settle. I said, okay, fair enough.
But these things work, because sometimes you just bring the background into it. It just plays on the mind of the batsman who's batting normally.
Yeah,
With the ball,
it does because
the ball may not even going away from him. He's still standing at silly point, whatever. Yeah.
Because I don't, and that too, you didn't need a silly point where he was standing, but he
Right.
wasn't there to take any.
Pure
of us.
psychological
He was,
warfare.
yeah, it was just wanted to look into
So
his eyes.
Saurav is 1.0 psychological warfare, and then Virat takes it to 2.0.
Yeah, he
it's almost
takes it
like the
next
next
level.
10, 15 years, India
Yeah,
just
yeah,
went
yeah.
into another
Yeah.
zone.
So, again, if you think about it, as a unit, I mean, obviously you've got to be aggressive to play that level.
Right.
But so someone to give it back, and then what also he encouraged Saurav was everyone to do it. It wasn't just him. He was.
Do you sledge them?
Oh yeah, he was one of the most softest guys. I mean, when you speak with him
Off the field,
the field, but then every now and then he was like, chup ho gaye ho, bol kyun nahi rahe ho, So he was like that. So he would encourage everyone to be like that as well on the field.
But he had his favorites when they were batting, like a Freddie Flintoff would bring out the demon in him a little bit.
Yeah. So
you also
all
know
that.
which cricketers you want to target when you do that, right? Especially India, England. There are 3 or 4 guys. We'll come to Jimmy Anderson because he seemed to have a major issue with a lot of our players in the a few years post your career.
Yeah.
But in going back to that series, like a Michael Vaughan, you'd chop with.
Yes.
Because he likes to talk back.
Yes. You got to know people you want to, people you don't want to. Guys like Brian Lara, you don't.
Right. Because he goes into another level.
Yes. I mean...
Sachin, you don't.
Sachin, you don't.
Yeah.
So someone like Brian, if you speak with him, if you don't, he'll get bored and get out.
Yeah.
He needs something to kind of wind him
Wire
up.
him.
Same thing with Virat as well. I think Virat's like that.
Virat's at his best when he's aggressive. David Warner.
Yeah. I think at times, I think Virat, he does it intentionally to G himself up.
Correct. Yeah.
And it has worked over the years for him, and I have absolutely no issues with that. If that works for him, please go ahead.
In tennis, they said John McEnroe would do the same thing.
Yeah.
He needed that.
I've read about someone like Michael Jordan and all, and creating stories to G himself up, even though nobody said anything.
The psychological background
absolutely.
to what you're trying to do in sport sometimes is misread.
I mean, at that level, people who've maintained themselves at the top of the tree for so long, I mean, listen, if that works for them, that works for them, man.
IDFC First Fact, the Mohali Test of 2001 also saw the debut of fast bowler Iqbal Siddiqui, who played only 1 test for India but was curiously promoted from number 10 to open the batting in the second innings when India needed 5 to win the match. Siddiqui took only 2 deliveries to finish the match off. And I can see my guests laughing. He was very much there. So Deep, what's the Iqbal Siddiqui story?
Dasi, as in SS Das, got hit.
Yeah.
Short leg silly point wherever he was. And I think needed was 6 or 4 runs or whatever, something like that to win. So Dasi wasn't going out to bat. And somebody's like, who's going to open? And Iqbal said, I will open. It'll go down in history as I've opened for India, both with the bat and ball. So he goes out and all. And the moment Nasser saw me and...
Started laughing?
No, he was so aggressive.
Insulted?
He was like, he felt insulted. He's like, where is your captain? Why couldn't he come? So he went after Saurav for that. Is it if your opener's not available, why couldn't your captain come, and why is he sending number 10 or something?
Best middle order in the world there to follow. Yeah.
So, and Iqbal started laughing.
But he finished the game off.
Yeah, he finished the game off. Yeah. And I still remember that walk from the dressing room all the way to the pitch.
This sounds like a vintage Saurav story. He must have thought in his head, this is going to piss them off even more.
And it really did.
Yeah.
And then Nasser took off, and then people around him took off, and they were like, went jabber, and stuff like that. And what made it worse was Iqbal laughing. He was laughing on their face.
Let's fast forward a little bit. So we won that series easily. The rancor continued, you're saying. This is we'll come to the IPL. In the meantime, 2007, we had a few more incidents. The Jellybean incident was, do you recall that, with Zaheer Khan?
Yeah,
what was that about? What was he trying to do?
So obviously, I mean, they can get under your skin. I mean, they find something against spirit of the game and all of that. I mean, that's all good. But then when they do it, that's all right. That's part of gamesmanship.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line between gamesmanship and the spirit of the game and all of that debate. So what happens in the dressing room? You have your food and everything else. Then you have your tea, coffee and stuff. And then you have sweets.
Right.
And what happens is when you're playing and all, long sessions and you've bowled a spell and all, you need sugar. Yeah. So you have sweets or whatever. And they would have sweets. I mean,
boiled
generally,
sweets, like
normal apna sweets here, and there would be jelly beans, stuff like that, jelly beans, and
As an aside, I love jelly beans, but let's get to that.
I mean,
it's a tasty thing.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and you just pick a handful and keep popping it in. Yeah. So, that's it. That was that. And suddenly it became like, they're using jelly beans to, for whatever,
get
ball
to
reverse and stuff
but is there
like
any science to that?
There is actually.
Like what? The spit?
So, the spit. So what it does is when you have things like sweet and, stuff like that, the viscosity of your saliva, that increases, it becomes thicker, the saliva.
Wow, the potency of the saliva increases with the Jellybean.
Yeah.
The science in cricket, yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, by the way, you know what? I think it's a fact. Sale of a mint sweet. Am I allowed to take names?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say Mentos.
Okay.
The sale of Mentos increases in India during the cricket season.
Oh, is it? Everybody's trying that.
Yeah.
So it's a proven sort of jugaad that we can do.
Yeah.
Where you do get a little more
so
movement.
there was a time when, when the umpires thought the ball's reversing and it shouldn't, they used to start smelling the ball. If they could smell mint or something, they're like, oops, there's something wrong with it.
The pandemic killed all that. Ouch. Yeah.
So,
but that, again, that went against them because it just aroused the Indian sort of... It's a bit like that asking the, Tony Gregg's comment about groveling for the West Indies.
Oh, yeah.
He just got the Indian team really into an aggressive posture and
then
Zaheer
obviously
bowled them out.
Zach got them out. And that, obviously, that was, like I said, post 2000, and during my stint with that Indian side, I could see the basic nature of the side changing from being, I'm aggressive, but
Laid
then I'm not
back.
going to
Yeah.
show it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go with the image of the Indian side. We are ambassadors of the game and stuff like that. And then the Australia series of 2003, it was like, I don't give whatever, and this is what I am. If you're gonna give it to me, I'm gonna give it back to you, kind. So I saw that change happening during that period.
Unique NRI banking isn't just a promise, it's a reality with IDFC FIRST Bank. Open an IDFC FIRST Bank NRI savings account from anywhere in the world, remit funds seamlessly with zero processing fee, and get a dedicated relationship manager 24/7. But coming back to England,
Yeah.
so the edge starts with Mr. Ganguly, who
Yeah.
decides enough is enough. And I think he saves his best for England and Australia. And they are the two titans of world cricket at that point. Then we'll go to the next few series in England because we want to end on where we are presently. Jadeja got pushed by... these are incidents that everybody remembers because it seems unnecessary also. I mean, sledging is fine to an extent and all that. But there's actually physical confrontation where he, unnecessarily just hit him with his shoulder.
So, personally, I think it's a lot more than individual. It's a mindset. If you think of, let's say,
But this is not Brian Lara or Virat Kohli trying to G themselves up. This is just being a ruffian.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you why. I think if you kind of delve a little deeper from mid-80s onwards, the power center started shifting, right? And talking about being aggressive and stuff like that, Sunny Sir, SMG was very aggressive.
He was the only
when
one
played.
talking back. Then Ravi,
That's the only
Ravi
thing. That
and
was the
Manoj Prabhakar,
exactly.
But Manoj Prabhakar's
it was
language
more
skills
like
weren't great.
individuals doing it, but never did it as a
No,
team.
never.
As a team, the image was very different. But then I think the power center was also moving towards India, and because England was the center for maybe hundreds of years before that, and cricket was an English sport. I think that also has been a little difficult for a lot of them to understand and take. We
grew very quickly also, right?
Oh, 100%.
The corporate India grew.
Oh, from
India changed
90s.
from a third world country to, suddenly...
Oh, it's great stories. Some amazing stories.
And the cricket is parallel to that growth.
Yeah. And cricket has grown as well. So I think... And obviously with that, the commercial side of the game has grown in India. And obviously because of that's fueled world cricket as well, not just India. So I think that shift, that mind shift is a little difficult for some people to kind of digest and understand. So I think this is that whole
So you're saying when
process.
Jimmy Anderson pushes a young...
No,
this is
I'm not-
2014, so young Jadeja, there's a lot of...
Yeah, a
baggage
lot
in the
of
sense
all
of
of that.
anger towards India as a country.
Not India as a country, but again, I think that'll be
Too far.
That'll be too far.
They'll start calling us jingoists and
war. No, but then obviously there was a paradigm shift in terms of who's running the sport or who's the main guy is running the sport, and now we are talking about post IPL. Where there is, commercial side of things have just kind of gone out of hand and it's ballooned and all. And obviously Indian players, they're kind of, the fame, the glamour and everything.
Superstars.
They're superstars. And that was very difficult. And someone like Jimmy never played in the IPL. I mean, he's only played, I think,
One
recently
season,
played.
maybe?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Never played.
He put his name in the hat after retiring. After they forced him to retire.
Yeah, I
but
think
nobody picked him.
recently he
Yeah.
played. I mean, what yesterday when we
100 he played?
He played. No, he played a I think T20 game after 11 years.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm not saying that's the reason why this happened, but there is an undercurrent there for sure.
yeah.
You know, when you generally speaking with people.
So India is like the upstarts, you're saying, and for some of these English guys, it's like,
Yeah,
"Boss, kahan se aa
it's
gaya?"
like,
you know, suddenly,
yeah, and the fact that it's like, you know, the commercial side or whatever. I mean that's how it is.
See, it goes back to John Snow, in my memory, John
Yeah.
Snow and Sunil Gavaskar.
Yeah.
Where he pushed
Yeah.
him right. But we're talking about the 70s now. And where the fast bowler, I don't want to use the word racist because that's a very
Yeah.
big word to use.
Yeah.
But they looked down on the third world country cricketer. I mean, they had respect for West Indies,
Yeah.
England,
They're
Australia.
forced to have.
They were forced to. They were forced to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're on the
Didn't
back
have
foot.
an option,
On the
yeah.
back foot on that
Quite
one.
literally on the back
John
foot.
Snow is not charging into beverages. That didn't happen, yeah. But no, but they did that. So there is a
Yeah.
little bit of that thing about, I don't know how to put it without sounding, really don't want to get into some race
Yeah,
politics, but-
it's a subconscious thing, and you're like, because a lot of them they still have that, you know, cricket is our sport.
Yeah.
You know, this is, I mean, it's an English
where they
sport.
come from. And,
Yeah, and all of that, and you know, you guys like, yeah, you're playing this sport and all of that, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're extremely well read in terms of cricket and otherwise as well. I know
Only
it's got to
cricket,
do
though.
with.
Cricket and another subject which I'm not allowed to talk about.
Thank you for that. Yeah, but I guess is the colonial hangover. I don't know, but there is an undercurrent for sure.
I think it just happened too quickly for the Western world
Yeah, to kind of,
appreciate
yeah.
where now they do.
Yeah.
We were discussing offline about how Jeff
Yeah.
Boycott wouldn't come here, Dennis Lilly didn't come here, Greg Chappell, and they made all kinds of guarded comments about the food, the
Yeah,
dust,
yeah.
the atmosphere, what living conditions, hotels. Each of these things, India has become the best at.
Oh, 100%.
Without sounding like a nutcase.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Hospitality industry, the whole industry in terms of even, you know, flying and, you know, airlines and everything else. That's one of the best in the world, if not the best. I mean,
Yeah.
go to any hotel. I mean, compare going to a hotel in the West, in Europe and all.
Service
and-
industry with tops.
Oh, I mean, unbelievable.
I'm going to get a call from the center now. I think we've never been so pro-India. This is like, we're doing an ad. Yeah. No, but it all comes down to the way, in a sense, I know what you're saying, the
Yeah.
behavior, there's a little bit of irritation, and that
Yeah.
stays then the subconscious.
Yeah.
And it stays because in 2014 he pushes Jadeja, but in 2021 he has a little skirmish with Bumrah, who after hitting him with the ball while he was batting, apologizes and tries to, as the best fast bowlers do these days, puts his hand up, and then this guy gives him a mouthful.
Yeah, I mean, and you've met Jaspreet, you've met Jassi, you've spoken to him.
Yeah.
He's on the field, off the field, he's soft-spoken.
Just smiles.
He smiles. And I don't know, I mean, where that came out. I
Wasn't
mean,
abused
maybe,
also.
again,
Yeah.
if you look at that series, I mean, it was Lords, was it? I think it was Lords.
Let me check with our computer, Amit.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
was it
Lords,
Lords?
Lords.
It was
With
Lords.
the members watching.
Yeah, with the members watching. And India did exceeding well in that series. And it was,
Two
again...
all. It was 2-all.
Yeah,
The
no,
top-
it wasn't 2-all. It
No,
was,
as in the series became 2-all. Then we
Yeah,
lose-
series
It
at
was
Lords we
2-1.
won that.
We were 2-1,
yeah.
and then we come back to play that last test,
Yeah.
and that's how they came back in it. Yeah.
So I think it was 1-1, and we
At
we
this
won
point,
that.
yeah.
At this stage, it was 1-1.
Correct.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe they didn't think that the series would be in that situation or whatever. Maybe that anger could be towards the batters. You know, you can't even handle whatever. And because the batters didn't have a great series, the English batters didn't have a great series. So could be that anger for the batters kind of coming out on Jassi. So could be anything, because again, I've worked with him. Yes, I mean, he's again a typical fast bowler, very aggressive and all. But again, very soft-spoken, you know, off the field and all, very respectful as well. So when this happened, I was like, this is very unlike Jimmy and very unlike Jassi as well. So it
Also,
just...
bear in mind, Anderson is one of the few guys who didn't play in the IPL. So they
Yeah.
didn't have that sort of
So they did-
bhai-bhai-giri that some of the boys have.
Yes.
Like, say, a
So
Johnny
true.
Bairstow would have, or, you know, one of
So
Joss
true.
Butler, for example.
So true. So obviously, I mean, that could be the other reason. But generally, when that happened, I was like, that's not him, you know. But could be n number of reasons, because obviously, I mean, most of the bowlers, they have this thing, if the batters are not batting well, like, oh.
But as a spectator, Deep, is it's good in a way. I mean,
It
we
is
don't want them
good.
to fight or anything, but I'm saying it's good to have that acrimony
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
field so that it's an edgy game of cricket, which it has been.
Yeah,
All
I
these
mean-
series have been closely contested after 14, you would say?
Oh, 100%. I mean, yeah, I mean, before that as well, if you think about them, England beating us in 2011.
Yeah, with
I
Monty and
yeah,
Swan.
Monty and Swanee, I mean, they were brilliant. We weren't that great. But yeah, I mean, it's been quite interesting, actually, India-England series. And also, I mean, and a lot of people are listening, and you would, and there's some romance involved with an India-England series.
Is it the colonial thing? Like the
Could
West Indies
be.
used to have that, but they seem to have lost
could
interest.
be, and
Yeah.
and when I actually cover it there, you don't feel it as a player as much. When you cover it, you're meeting a lot of people. You just come off the comm box and you've gone down and whatever. People bump into you and you're like, yeah, let's do this and all of that. So okay, what's going on here? So yeah, I mean, I mean when you especially go to, like, let's say Birmingham, Manchester, or Oval or Lords, you actually feel at times you're like,
Desis everywhere.
I was like, what's going on? I mean, where are we? Is this
Yeah,
Mumbai or something?
yeah.
But then, yeah, I mean, from that perspective, it's always been interesting. Two very good sides, very competitive sides, and then you need a little bit of that drama. I mean, that's adds to the theatre of the series.
I really think I love that in sport as well. There's a line, like we all know. We don't want barbarism, but
yeah.
we want a little bit of an encounter.
Cyrus, we're talking about, it's an 8-hour long affair in a
Right.
day, right? So there are, I mean, we are all emotional beings. So there are times when emotions get the better of you, which is only fair.
I love
mean,
the sort of story, coming to a guy who doesn't feel a silly point and then comes
no
there.
chance. He would not
Yeah,
be
exactly.
anywhere
Without
near.
a helmet and just stands in his eye line. As you said, not a very, very odd
No,
angle.
he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't there to catch or anything.
Just to
He
get under
would-
his skin.
Yes,
Yeah.
under his skin, and look into his eyes as like, I'm here.
So I think that should be allowed. in
I
sport.
think
It's
because a
part
lot
the
of
game.
people back then said, Saurav is soft, he's not strong enough, and all of that during his Lancashire. I think those things were said
Yeah.
about him. And maybe he was
Well,
just
that
trying
was
to
more
make
from
a
what I
point.
remember because he didn't want to fraternize.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
what
yeah,
they don't
I mean, there's a-
understand is us
yeah.
Desis, you go to England, you have 2,000 Indians to look after you. So you can't even really meet the lads. It's a
Isn't-
bit tough.
And
Yeah.
Saurav being Saurav, I mean, he'll do stuff his way. If he doesn't want to do it,
Yeah.
he's not doing it.
No,
No matter
hats
what
off to Saurav. He's changed cricket. For me personally,
Yeah.
I think that's a big milestone. Saurav Ganguly's captaincy.
Yeah.
It just changed. I mean, you know better than us,
Yeah.
and you can completely vouch for
No,
him.
like I said, I mean, listen, as a team,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously individually they've been greats who've played like that, but
Yeah.
as a team, I think the mindset changed, and the high point was the Australia series. It was unbelievable. I mean, just giving back to whether it's Haydos. I mean,
Yeah.
Haydos giving it. He's what.
6'3",
6',
10,000
6'4".
pounds. Yeah.
You couldn't
Yeah.
see the stumps
Yeah.
when he was batting. And he was just crazy, and people were giving it back to them.
Yeah.
It didn't
But he was
really
the slip
matter.
of a guy,
Ah. Budgie,
Yeah.
and obviously that generation also, I mean, starting from, I mean, the whole of our generation, Viru, Budgie, Yuvi, Zach, Ashu, Ajit, all of them, I mean, it's just, yeah. it's
I won't get
different
classed
generation.
into it, but I think John Arlett, one of these famous writers, did mention that the best captains come out of the upper class, or the very upper class, or the very lower class.
That's a
Never
very,
from the middle class.
That's a very English thing to say, isn't
I know,
it?
but it's not completely wrong. You look around
It's
the
like
great captain.
the best
Imran Khan,
cricketers come
Imran
from-
Khan,
yeah.
upper class Pakistani, superb captain. Saurav Ganguly, upper class. I'm not. Look, we're having this conversation in a candid way. I'm just putting it out there.
No, fair
You
enough.
don't say anything. You're the credible character. I'm the joker in the pack. It's fine. We apologize. No offense to anyone. This is just theories. And it's interesting because the game, I mean, it goes it's much more than a game, right? Like you
Yeah,
said,
it's much
you're
more
looking
than
at
a game.
colonial hangover when India England are set up. Okay, before we are going really long here, set up the. We're recording this just before June 20th, and the first test at Headingley. So huge series, 5 test matches, enough white ball. Give it to us now. But new team for us, new team, and even they don't really have many of their big guns.
Exactly. So when I was thinking about this series a month back, when suddenly whatever's happened in the last series, I was like, it's going to be tough and all, and I did realize, in fact, during the BGT on air, I said, next 1.5 years are going to be tough. It's going to be transition in Test match cricket, and please understand, this is how it's going to be. You got to be patient about with this side. Then I was looking at I got my playing 11 in my head. Okay, so Virat's retired now, Rohit's retired, Ashwin's retired. What would be the playing 11? And I looked at the playing 11. I was like, that looks like a decent side. And then I saw England play against Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is getting interesting now. Because they don't have a set side. Their bowling side as well is quite new. There's no kind of a standout performer as yet. Post Broad
The batting
and Jimmy.
is more or less set, but they won't bring Bethel in. So Ollie Pope will stay at 3.
Yeah.
So I think that will be the batting lineup.
Yeah.
After Jamie at 7, the wicket
Jamie Smith. So they also have a kind of a newish side there as well. So
the
you got
bowling.
Bowling is a
No
big
Mark
question
Wood,
mark.
no Jofra Archer. He may not want to play on top of that. No, we don't know with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gus Atkinson hamstring.
Yeah, and Gus Atkinson
They're
also, I mean, when he first came in, he was bowling at 140, that extra bounce, extra pace.
It's all gone.
Then the last time I was 128.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, I was like...
How does that happen, Deep? You're a keeper, you know that. Munaf Patel, a lot of our guys also, the pace just disappeared.
So Munaf, the thing was... Okay, so Munaf was his shoulder injury. I think he got operated and he never had the same speed. I mean, I still remember Munaf, we were playing India against New Zealand. He literally bounced them out. Literally. And I was so happy.
You kept to?
Munaf, Shreebhai
Srinath, off the wicket apparently.
Yeah. Shreebhai was sharp.
How do you gauge the pace from the way they hit the gloves or from the...
The time and suddenly you realize it's just come and hit your gloves. It's like, oops, okay, that was quick. And Zach also would bowl an effort ball. So in every over he would bowl a couple of deliveries that were quick.
Yeah.
And generally would bowl at 133, 135. 2 balls will come at 142, 145. The top would come and hit your gloves and it's like, ooh, you know. But yeah. So anyways, going back to that India-England series, I think 2 new sides and it's going to be very, very interesting because I also think the pitches, they've anyways flattened out last few years in England. So it not
Everybody talks about Headingley, the opening test, as the one where the ball does the most.
I guess the only test match where you could find a bowling friendly, but again in England...
But they will get movement and all, which they don't get here.
If it's overcast conditions, they will.
So we'll also get it. Bumrah will be difficult to handle.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. Obviously, Bumrah himself has mentioned
Krishna,
that he's not going to play all the test matches. So you got to manage his workload. Prasidh Krishna is looking good. Siraj, if he can get that ball to swing away. Those 3 are ready.
Now Nitish Kumar plays as the 4th seamer.
So for me, I think, Nitish. So, okay, this is my playing 11. All right.
Jaiswal,
KL Rahul. 3, Sai Sudarshan.
Same.
4
Captain,
is your captain,
skipper.
Shubman Gill. 5, Rishabh Pant. 6, Nitish Kumar Reddy.
Karun Nair.
Well, okay. We'll. I mean, obviously, Karun got a double 100 recently as well. So, okay.
But
anyways, let's go with Nitish as a 4th
Nitish
seamer.
or Ajay Jadeja.
So, not Ajay.
Oops. He'd be so happy. Ajay would be, ready.
He'd be more than happy.
Wow.
So, 6 of them, then 7, Ravinder Jadeja.
You'll play the spinner, whatever happens, 1 at least.
Yeah. So, now the thing is, now we can debate about either Jadeja plays or Nitish play and play Karun Nair. So, that is debatable. 8, I'd go with Kuldeep, a wrist spinner irrespective. And then that's 8. 9, 10, 11, your 3
Just
seamers.
beat Siraj Prasidh.
Yeah.
That's a fair team.
Yeah, so you can always debate about that Karun Nair and whether you play one between Jadeja and
whether you feel the spinner will come
Nitish.
into it. But the match won't even last normally 4 and 5 days.
Yeah, because I honestly believe we'll get flat pitches there. It suits them as well.
Right. Because they want to play that 400 runs a day style BazBall or whatever you want to call it. Which didn't work in India, by the way.
It hasn't worked, period.
Yeah.
I mean,
it works against Zimbabwe, so with due respect.
With all due respect. But but BazBall hasn't worked, and I think they're also kind of aware of it. I mean, I think Baz himself.
You're not hitting Bumrah for 40 runs.
And I think he would feel a little bit of pressure now. I mean, recently they've actually kind of sacked both their analysts, so there is no analyst. And if
there must have been the 2 Indian guys in the team. Investigate that.
So I believe Baz, I was reading somewhere, he said he wants the place to take more responsibility. So the tone has changed a little bit. So it'll be quite interesting. And this is kind of the first major series after that interview.
While their openers, Ben Duckett is on a high, no question about that last 2 years. But Crawley isn't. And if they really look at the numbers and look at his
Yeah.
performance, there should be a
I
question
think
mark
that
there. But I mean, that's
the
for them
runs
to-
that he got against Zimbabwe was crucial, I believe.
Yeah, but-
even though, but he batted all right against India. I don't
last
think he
time
got
round.
100. I think he got 3, 4, 50s. He got a couple of 70s and all, but he batted well. So maybe there are quite a few young batters coming through English cricket as well.
I
But
really can't see them going after Bumrah the way they. I mean, not in
Bumrah
that
is
way.
one, but obviously,
Siraj also
so that's
with
the
the new
reason
ball.
I think. And if they're going to bat the way they have in the last few years, a wrist spinner is important, I believe, and that's where I think Kuldeep, irrespective what the venue is, if he's fit, for me he plays.
Okay, the worst question to ask an analyst, a former cricketer, professional, a guy who watches the
scoreline?
game. Yeah.
Oh God. Listen, I'd still say England would have a little bit of an advantage, home and all of that, and India, new captain.
And Bumrah may miss 1 or 2 games.
Bumrah
It's
will
very crucial.
miss 1 or 2 games for sure. I'm gonna say 3-2 England. But it's gonna be a close series, is what I think. Because of home advantage and everything else, I'll give it to them. New Indian side, and I also think we need to be patient with these guys right
And what
now.
words of love do you have as we say bye to Michael Vaughan? I mean, it's 24 years of.
I'll bump into him right now in this series.
I'm sure you will. So what's it like? Do you do this?
No, actually, post that we've had really good times as
He's
well.
great on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, we've worked together, and to be fair to him, he's never brought this up.
Really?
People around him have.
Show him this clip.
Toughers have.
Yeah.
As in Phil Tufnell
Phil Tufnell,
has brought it up a few times. Some of the other guys have brought it up, but to be fair to him, he's never brought it up. Every time somebody's brought it up, we've given each other a smile and
You
moved
betted
on.
the hatchet, ever the diplomat. All right. But we got a few stories from Deep, which I don't think I've ever heard before, about him taking bats to spectators, which thankfully didn't end with any, we wouldn't have him here today. But thank you so much, Deep.
Pleasure's
That's
mine.
our show. 3-2 in favor of England.